This episode is made possible by the support we get from Fort Collins Kia. If you are in the market for any electric Kia, not only do they never add market adjustments, they will deliver your car to you anywhere in the 48 contiguous states for Out of Spec viewers. More information in the link in this episode's description. Hello and welcome back to the Out of Spec podcast. I'm here with Alex from our Out of Spec Renew channel. If you haven't already, check out Out of Spec Renew, where there seems to be a lot of future EV projects and a lot of knowledge when it comes to EV repair in the future. Now, Alex, I'll let you kind of explain what Out of Spec Renew is, what your experience with EV is, what works EV repair, and what content we could see coming to the channel.
Yeah, so I just kind of recently, within about the last month and a half or so, I've started doing some videos for Out of Spec Renew, doing videos mostly surrounding repair for electric vehicles. So I've been doing a lot of videos with just different repair procedures for cars that come into my shop. As far as the kind of stuff that I actually do, I do pretty much any kind of repairs on electric vehicles, but particularly I have a main focus on sort of powertrain and high voltage system issues. So I do a lot of drive unit repairs, battery pack repairs, and really anything with the high voltage system.
Perfect. And what do you have in stock? Now, you've posted a picture, what I believe is two Mitsubishi i-MiEV. Is that how you pronounce that? EV?
I think it's i-MiEV, but I'm not 100% certain.
Okay.
But yeah, so those are actually a couple cars that I told Kyle about. I found them locally on Facebook Marketplace, and he wanted to pick them up to kind of use for a bit of a project on the Renew channel. So yeah, those are kind of an ongoing project. The first video just went live here a couple days ago that actually shows, the cars showing up, and I managed to get one of them just kind of running and driving a little bit in turtle mode, but they both have issues with the batteries that need to be addressed. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of what I'm in the middle of right now, is working on that.
Nice. Yeah, this is kind of cool. Seeing the real breakdown and the powertrain of what really makes an EV an EV. Now, I guess, where does your knowledge, your knowledge come for working on EVs?
So I used to work for QC Charge in Southern California. I was there for probably, 6.5 years or something, plus or minus. Originally, I went down there just for one summer, for a summer job when I was going to, I went to school at Oregon State, which is about an hour and a half south of me. Here in Portland, so Oregon State's down in Corvallis. And I went down just for one summer, kind of as a summer job, kind of an internship. I was kind of doing some engineering stuff, some CAD design, and kind of helping out with some installation of, we used to build DC fast charging kits for the Toyota RAV4 EV, Tesla Roadster, and I helped a bunch with the development of the newest kit that we did, which was for the Mercedes B-Class electric.
Nice.
So anyway, that was what I spent that first summer doing, and then I came back up to Oregon, went back to school again, and then the next summer I went down for originally what was just going to be a summer, and then I ended up sticking around, and I was there for probably about 6.5 years.
Awesome.
And yeah, my time there, the way that it kind of all started is it was mostly customers with the Toyota RAV4 EVs. They knew that we knew the cars really well because we developed the fast charging kit for them, and people started asking if we could fix them. So, it kind of all started from there. The very first Tesla large drive unit that I ever rebuilt was from a Toyota RAV4 EV that got shipped to us from Norway, of all places.
Wow.
The first rebuild didn't go so good, but we kind of learned from there, and that's pretty much all that it was. Is it was just kind of a learning process over time. And yeah, I mean, when I first started doing that kind of stuff, there weren't really very much of any training programs for EV repair. other than OEM level, like for dealer techs and stuff. But there wasn't really anything for independent repair. So I'm kind of self-taught, more or less. But there's a lot. There's a really great community in forums and stuff where people share a lot of information, and there's always something new to learn.
Yeah, look, a lot of the amazing engineers we see out here when it comes to working on and repairing EVs are all self-taught, and I think that's such an interesting thing because really you don't have to go through decades of schooling. You can really be hands-on and kind of learn firsthand what it's like to repair cars now, particularly EVs. Now, that first drive unit that you worked on, you said it didn't go so well. Were you willing to share what happened?
So essentially, I mean, it started out being just a drive unit that was really noisy, which is really common on the large drive unit, on the early ones in particular. They used steel bearings on the rotor, and essentially, because it's an induction motor, you get a bunch of energy buildup within the rotor itself that's trying to dissipate to the case. And it ends up basically dissipating through whatever the path of least resistance is. And if you have steel conductive bearings, a lot of the time that path of least resistance ends up being through the bearing. So you end up with literal just arcing through the bearings, and it just causes, microscopic pitting in the balls and the races, and it starts to make noise. So that was how it started. And after I rebuilt it, it ended up still being really noisy, and it had a vibration. Which on that very first rebuild, I don't think that I pulled apart the gearbox. I think all I did was pulled the rotor out and replaced just the bearings on the rotor, which subsequently, after that we learned that the primary drive gear bearings in the gearbox, so that's the first gear that the rotor actually interfaces with. A lot of the time those bearings can have noise issues as well. So now that's standard practice to replace those as well. And in all of the rebuilds that I do, I actually replace both the rotor and the primary drive gear bearings with non-conductive hybrid ceramic bearings.
Okay. And I guess that's not something that's originally installed or manufactured with the drive unit. And so this is kind of like a more resistant or I guess future-proof
The
part.
later versions of the large drive unit, so anything past about mid 2014, they do have hybrid ceramic bearings on the rotor, but not on the primary drive gear. So all the ones have just regular steel bearings on the primary drive gear. As far as I know, even current production and remanufactured units from Tesla still use steel bearings on the primary drive. So it's really only third-party rebuilders that do the hybrid ceramics on the primary drive gear as well, at least as far as I know.
And if for those who are have seen our I-90 surge, where we took 10 vehicles from Seattle to Boston, you, Alex, were on Team OG Model S, and to my knowledge, you have an old Model S as well. Is that correct?
Yeah, so mine's not quite as old as that other one was. Mine's a 2015 model S70D, so it's dual motor, but with the smaller size battery. The original owner of the car was actually a full-time rideshare driver in the San Diego area. He put over 400,000 miles on that car in 5 years. So in the time that I've had it, I've only put about 60,000 miles on it. But yeah, so the car's now, I think it's just about to hit 467,000.
Wow. What repairs have you had to do on that Model S?
In the time that I've had it, not very much. The only things that I bought it at just about 408,000. So I put almost 60,000 miles on it. In the time that I've had it, the only things that I've had to do were charge port door, one of the four-way coolant valves developed a leak. 12-volt battery, window regulator. What else?
Window regulator for like the window switches.
Yeah, just one of the rear window regulators. The actual It uses cables that are attached to the motor to run the window up and down.
Okay.
The actual plastic piece that the actual window glass attaches to, that the cables go
Mm-hmm.
into, the actual plastic piece on that broke, and the cable is no longer attached. So the window was no longer attached to anything; it would just fall in.
Mm-hmm.
Luckily, it didn't break the glass, but I did have to
Yeah.
repair it later on.
Okay. Wow. So nothing like major.
Yeah, I think that's pretty much all of the real major repairs that I had to do. I did pay Tesla to put the MCU2 in it, so I had the
Okay.
MCU2 retrofit done.
Nice.
They make it nigh on impossible for third parties to do, so it's not really worth it in my opinion to mess with it. Just bring it to them and they'll do it. But yeah, so it's had the MCU2, and then really the only other stuff that I've replaced are just kind of cosmetic things. The steering wheel was like kind of super gross and worn out, so I put just another used steering wheel in it. And the bottom cushion on the driver's seat was, the foam in it was like completely non-existent. It was just so compressed. It was like sitting on a board. So I put a new lower cushion on the driver's seat. But other than that, yeah, that's all that I've done. I know that under previous ownership, it did have the front drive unit replaced
Okay.
at, I estimate, probably around 375,000 miles, and the battery pack was replaced at probably around 250. Both of those would have been done under the 8-year unlimited mileage
Right.
powertrain.
That's nuts. Something to last that long. I mean, I think we hear a lot of FUD news about EVs not being able to, handle just longevity, just being able to sustain hundreds of thousands of miles. And for a car that was built in 2015 or 2015 Model S, that's 10-year-old technology ridden off of almost nothing. And so now we are 10 years forward. So we've seen a huge jump in what battery technology is and reliability. And so I'm curious to see what the current Model S is, how long they last, because a battery change about 250,000 miles. I mean, a lot of cars don't even last that long. And so all you need to do, replace the battery, and you get an additional 200,000 plus miles. Now, I do want to ask about the MCU for those who aren't aware. What does the MCU replacement do, upgrading from the original to MCU2?
Yeah, so on the Model S, modern day Teslas have what they call the car computer, uh, and there's different versions of the car computer, right? So you have like hardware 3, hardware 4. But on the Model S, they called it the MCU, the Media Control Unit. And so MCU1 was a Tegra-based system, and there was pretty famously a pretty big recall for MCU1. They actually had too small of a memory chip, and it would just get constantly rewritten over and over and over again. And after so many rewrite cycles, it would basically just brick itself.
Okay.
So the original one, I think, was 8 gigabytes of memory, and there was a recall where they updated the memory to 64 gigabytes. So that was kind of a pretty famous thing. And the MCU one is generally a lot slower to do any kind of processing. Like any kind of navigation, if you're doing a navigation that requires multiple stops, a lot of the time it takes a long time to load. We actually kind of talked a little bit about that because the Model S we used on the Surge still had MCU1. And like if we put in the final destination of Boston, it like wouldn't even calculate. It's just too many stops.
Right.
It would sit there for like half an hour trying to calculate, and it just So we just kind of did it stop by stop the whole way. But yeah, so MCU2 is a lot faster, more responsive, and it kind of has some additional features that you don't get with the older MCU. So you get all of the streaming capability. So MCU1 can't do the media streaming like Netflix or YouTube or anything, but MCU2 can do that. It has like extra games and some of the other kind of gimmicky features and stuff.
Wow. Okay. Times have changed. I couldn't imagine having to sit there for so long to put in a stop, and it just take forever to load. So, I mean, I don't think we even went too deep into that on our recap of the i90 Surge for the OG Model S team. And so, yeah, you guys were really going through hell over there.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, ultimately, even if we did rely on the stock navigation, the way that Tesla does it, particularly on the older cars like that, they optimize it for much longer stops. So we would have been putting in our own stops anyways. But
Right.
yeah.
Awesome. Well, I'm glad to have you on. As more projects come from the Out of Spec Renew channel, I think we'll see you a lot more. Hopefully see you like every week or every other week or so, to kind of recap. I know Kyle would like that. And yeah, thank you so much for joining me. Is there anything else that we can expect to see from the Out of Spec Renew channel? Anything we should know about you?
Yeah, I mean, just expect to see more repair videos and stuff. There's a bunch of different ones that are kind of in the works. I've got a bunch of sort of already pre-shot stuff that's just got to be edited and uploaded. And there's always something, there's always new vehicles coming into the shop with all sorts of different issues. So,
Sweet.
Yeah.
Awesome. I'll leave this out with this. What's your favorite EV?
That would be a really, really hard question to answer. I don't know if I could say that there's any one good answer that I have to that. I mean, everything has its upsides and downsides, and most of the stuff that I deal with is old, so I don't really get to experience a lot of the new EVs that I mean, a lot of the stuff that I have heard about and know about, I've never actually gotten the opportunity to experience myself. Never done anything with the Rivian before. Never done anything with Taycan, Lucid. A lot of the newer stuff I just don't really have much experience with. So, I mean, when it comes to older stuff, Model S is pretty up there. Model 3 certainly has a lot more capability in the realm of charging speeds and road trip ability than Legacy S does. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. That's too hard of a question to answer. I couldn't pick any one car.
I totally feel that. I say you have, I mean, your future's forever changing because soon, right, we'll get older Model S's. The second generation Model S is getting older. And soon, with enough time, right, we'll have Lucids and Polestars and Rivians that are 10, 15 years old. And you'll get to get into the nitty gritty of those as well.
Yeah, I mean, the more time that goes by, the older the cars get, the more of them start coming off warranty, and someone's got to fix them.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you so much for joining me, Alex.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks for having me.
I'm glad you're on. Well, this is the Out of Spec podcast. If you guys have any questions, maybe things you want to see on the Out of Spec Renew channels for Alex, please leave them down in the comments below, and I'll make sure to get back to him. But this is the Out of Spec podcast. My name is Isaiah, and we will see you guys in the next one.